Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of the Rams House podcast, joined by Will and Joe. I'm your host, Ethan, and today we are talking about the state of the Rams. How are you guys doing today?
Doing all right. Not as
Doing
fun
good,
with no
man.
Rams game, but all right week.
Yeah, still eventful. I got to watch Joe Burrow do his thing, man. I've been super excited watching him. He's been electric.
Joe Burrow looks like he's having his best season ever, and they are 2-4. And
That's the crazy part. I don't understand why. That's
I
crazy.
mean, that game last night, I know he had like the 47-yard touchdown, but the Giants defense actually played really well. That was a low scoring game.
that was easily his worst game of the season, and he was actually still okay. He didn't turn the ball over. Like, he was in control. There were some other really interesting things. The Buccaneers put up 51 against the Saints. That was a really entertaining game, and Baker was playing just wild. And I say that because he was playing wild good and wild bad. He was out of control, but
Yeah, he had like 3 interceptions, I think.
Yeah, he did.
but he was also just
were
dominant.
dominant.
It was just a classic gunslinger game. He was just throwing it all over the yard.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
It
And
was
then
wild.
my main takeaway was just the rookie QBs, Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May all looked good. So that's been fun to track.
Yeah, and it was. Drake May actually looked really good. We talked about that. We're both big fans, and I want to give a shout out to the Lions beating down the Cowboys almost by 40 points, 47-9. And they play their backups for like almost the whole fourth quarter. So
They were running hook and ladders to like Penei Sewell, like
Dude.
they're just clowning them.
even if you
That
don't
was crazy, bro.
even if you don't like Jared Goff, you don't like the Lions, man, I don't know many Rams fans who care for the Cowboys.
Look at Joe right
So
now.
watching the Cowboys get beat down it's just great. I love watching the
See, look,
Cowboys.
it was a love-hate game for me, man. I don't like the Cowboys at all, but I love seeing them get beat, though. I love seeing the
love it.
Cowboys get smoked. This is beautiful.
The Cowboys are probably the team in the NFC I dislike the most outside of the NFC West.
Yeah. I'm kind of like have the same Stephen A view of it where I don't have a problem with the actual team, but it's just the fan base always, hyping them up, thinking they're going to, it's our year, we're going to make it to the Super Bowl and all that. And then they just fall flat on their face.
There's a myriad of players on the Cowboys I think are overrated, and that makes me kind of dislike them, like Dak and
I was going to say
a couple
Dak.
of the other players. Yeah.
Dak
I mean,
is-
CD's not overrated. He is a top 3 receiver without question, which is crazy.
I love
Actually,
Mike.
is he a top 3 receiver? That's a whole different conversation. I was just thinking it's easy to say that, and I'm going, well, there's Tyreek Hill, there's Justin
he's not
Jefferson,
top
there's Jamar
3.
Chase. There's so many good receivers right now in football.
He's an elite receiver, though, no doubt.
But yeah, so anyways, it was a really fun, interesting week in football, even without the Rams. I watched a lot of really entertaining games. But let's get started on the state of the Rams. So I think the best place to start is right here, talking about where the Rams currently sit as far as the rankings go. And we are the second worst team in the NFC as of right now. The only team worse than us is the Carolina Panthers at 1-5. We also have the second worst plus-minus differential. We're at minus 45 points, which is also second worst in the conference. And then if you take a look at the whole NFL, we are basically tied for second worst with a bunch of teams. A bunch of 1-4, a bunch of 1-5 teams.
Only 2 games out of the division. Just saying, little copium for you. Come on. 2 games and we've beat San Fran.
Our division is not good this year, which is the funny part about it.
Yeah, it is interesting. Like Seattle, I think they started 3-0 and now they've lost 3 straight. I don't think they're good. I don't think they're very good. And San Fran, we can, it's debatable.
They're plus 32 though. Like San Francisco's actually been pretty good.
Yeah, I think honestly they're gonna figure it out and be pretty good, but they're gonna be good by the end.
What's crazy is we were talking before the season about how if they lose a guy like Christian McCaffrey, they can be in a world of pain. Who saw Jordan? At first, it was like, oh, Jordan Mason, right? Is that who it is? The running back?
Yeah, Jordan Mason. Yeah.
We were like, it's Shanny's system. Guys come in, they play well. But at this point, in watching the highlights and watching the film, Jordan's actually a really freaking good running back.
Oh yeah, totally.
I thought it was a fluke at first because like everyone does well in the system, but he's actually like hitting the right holes, making good reads, making guys miss, breaking tackles. Like he's doing kind of the whole 9 yards. So
Yeah.
that's
And you
that's
know
kind of a
what?
bummer.
I'm getting in that exact same mode with Brock Purdy now, where it's at first it's like, oh well, he's a Shanahan QB. You know, they all do well, but dude, he's pretty good, man. I don't know. You guys might disagree with me, but
Yeah,
watching him
I'm not.
week in and week
I'm
out,
not there yet. I'm not there yet with
I'm
you,
not
Brock.
you
there
don't
yet
you
either.
don't like Brock? I like Brock Purdy, man. I don't know. He like he's athletic. He anticipates really well. He's accurate. He's tough. Obviously he's not an elite quarterback, but I think I'm starting to get to the point where I just think he's just a plain good QB, and on most teams in the league he'd do pretty well. In like the Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
tier maybe ish. Eh, he's probably not as good as Kirk, but he's decent to me. He's like a top 15 to 20 quarterback to me.
Yeah, I'm just looking at his stats right here. I'm
Well,
not quite there with him. Um, this is very reminiscent to a Jimmy Garoppolo season so far. High yards, high average, kind of decent touchdown interception ratio, middling completion percentage. Not terrible, not awful. I'm with Joe. I'm not there yet, but I understand. He's statistically looked good. He generally looks decent in games. He has a lot of games where he does virtually nothing though, and he has some games where he looks like he's carrying the team. It's weird. I don't really have strong feelings one way or another, but it is that Shanahan quarterback thing that still has me going. I'm not ready to put anything on his name yet.
I hear you.
So let's talk about where the Rams are at. We're obviously worse in the NFC, or second worst in the NFC. It is a difficult situation for us. We have a lot to overcome. The schedule has its highs and lows. We play a team coming out of the bye who is currently what, 2-4, I think. Let me
Yes.
let me go double check. Yeah, they're 2-4. They have a minus 54 point differential, which is bottom 5 in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's interesting because they're not. I don't. You guys think they're a bad team? And you know what? We'll save that for the preview. We're gonna go deeper into the Raiders, but where are we at this point in the season? We just had the bye week. We're going into the next week in a position where it's really win or go home. What are you guys' thoughts on what's going on?
Um, Me personally, I'm at the point where I know we're gonna go deeper into how we want the season to go, or what avenue should we go. But I'm at the point where if we can win that Raiders game, I think we can go on an upward trajectory. Like I said, the schedule does have its highs and its lows, but the next 4 games to me are not pretty difficult. I think it's the Dolphins, the Seahawks, the Raiders, and then one more team. I can't remember what that. Oh, the Vikings. That's going to be the Vikings on Thursday Night Football. That's going to be pretty difficult. But
Yeah.
um,
We have
if
the
we could
Patriots.
swing some of those, if we could swing some of those games, man. If cross our fingers, but if we could swing that Vikings game, that's like a. I don't know if you guys remember the Super Bowl season. We was going against the Cardinals. And I think they were undefeated. And that was a big game for us because we were in sort of a lull, and then we came and beat them, and then it felt like they gave our season energy again, and that momentum swung around. So I'm in that point where we get that Raiders win and try to build off that. But if we don't get the win, then we can go deeper into that conversation later. But right now, I think we're in a bad spot just because we're going to talk about it today. But it's so many negatives going on right now. But if we can get some guys back, like Cooper, who Sean McVay said that he possibly could be back for the Raiders game, based on how his practice went today. Um, Puka's not coming back next game, but he might be back after that. Steve and Jonah. So if we can get those guys back, I think we'll be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's just like a really simple take for me. Is just I'm just looking at it, and I'm not trying to sound like a coach, but like just the next game.
I knew you were gonna
And
say that.
yeah, but it really is true though. Is like for me, the next game, Raiders game. If we lose that game, all right, I'm out of Copium. But if we can win this game, 2-4, again, the division race, we're not that far out of it, and the teams at the top aren't playing that great. I'm gonna feel all right. Man, honestly, like it reminds me a lot of last year. Like last year, we were playing horrible before the bye. We came back from the bye. I think Joe mentioned it. We beat Seattle, and then we in a close game, and we went on a roll. And even the Super Bowl year, we were in a rut, right? We lost like 4 games in a row. And I remember we had a get right game, like the cliche get right game against Jacksonville that year, where we beat down on Jacksonville, and then it just kind of got us right, and we looked good the rest of the year. That's what I'm hoping that this game against Oakland is. I hope it's a get right game for the offense and the defense, and then hopefully we can get it going. And then we do have Minnesota like right after that though, but at least it's at home because it's a short week, so at least you don't have to travel on a short week. But but my short answer is I have some hope left, but it's gonna all be gone obviously if we lose this Raiders game.
So, to both your points, and this will segue into some of the other things we're going to discuss during the State of the Rams discussion. I gotta be honest in the fact that I'm kind of sick of having to like hope for miracles in order to make the playoffs. Like 2021, we were looking bad for like 4 games in a row. We didn't look like a team that deserved to be in the playoffs. 2022, same thing. We just keep hoping that the Rams the O line's gonna get healthy. We're gonna turn it around. Last year, same thing. We man, it's getting old to just suck and then have to hope for like a miraculous season turnaround. That's been the
Yeah,
story for like the last 4 years straight, and it's getting a little bit exhausting. And I kind of miss the 2018 season where we just kind of like we're like
just rolled through.
just
Yeah,
rolled through, And so it is entertaining and it is fun and all that stuff. But man, we're capable of being a team that doesn't have to pull a rabbit out of the hat to make the playoffs and
yeah,
make a run. And that's where I'm at is like, is it possible? Sure. And we've shown ourselves to be a team that can achieve that, but man, it would be nice if we didn't have to go into a rut before we started playing well.
yeah.
It's like what season was it where we were like one of the worst first quarter scoring offenses, and we always had to like come back through the last 3 quarters of the game because we like one year we didn't score in the first drive like all season long. I don't know.
I can't remember that.
I don't remember offhand, but yeah, it rings a bell.
Um, yeah, I just don't want to start so slow and have all these problems. And so, yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at is it possible? Could we, and I don't even know that I'll get excited if we beat the Raiders because they're pretty bad. And
Yeah.
it,
No,
what,
I mean I won't get excited
yeah,
either. It's just
Oh no, I'm not
keep me
excited either.
it'll
I
keep me
just
alive with
yeah,
the
it's gonna keep
copium.
it's gonna keep me
we'll,
alive.
we'll,
Like
see, we'll
me,
see how we beat them. We'll see how we beat them. That'll
Yeah,
mean
that
more.
that's
yeah,
also that's actually the thing is how we beat them. It matters too.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
Okay, so Um, let's go ahead and I did just so you guys are aware, I switched the order of what we were going to talk about a little bit. I think it makes more
Mhm.
sense. So let's first talk about our positive takeaways of the pre-bye week games. I'll start us off, and we don't have to take forever on this, but my
Yeah.
my main positive takeaway is the rookie class is looking great. Whether you're talking about the little we've seen
Yeah.
of Blake Corum, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, Bo Limmer, Jordan Whittington, or Josh Riccardi. That's 6 players. I think I just named 6 guys who are all playing, except for Corum, playing some significant snaps right now. And we can argue that he should be playing significant snaps, or at least more than he is. They all look like good NFL players, to be honest. And in fact, I would say that they all look like they could and should be at least middling level starters, which is we may have gotten 6 starters out of this draft. That's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. 2 years in a row, great drafts. Good point. Yeah.
So when you're talking about positive takeaways, I feel like that has to be at the very top of the list. Another phenomenal looking rookie class, 2 in a row. If we could put a third one together, that would be life changing for the LA Rams. So that's my main positive takeaway of the first 5 games.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like Will just said, 2 amazing drafts in a row. So I kind of want to give Les a little credit because I know that we sometimes we here and there we hit and miss with Les. Sometimes he's great, then he does little mistakes that can hold us back. But 2 years in a row, great drafts,
He had a
drafted
few
starters
he had a few
all over
bad
the
drafts in
board.
a row, to be fair. So
I was
he's
Yeah,
just
and
thinking that.
he did.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but well, I guess Ethan just said it, but like before these
Uh,
last two, we hadn't been drafting that well.
no, not at all.
So
yeah,
he
but
I don't know what's changed, but
we would draft a good player here and there, throughout the
I
right.
think it
draft,
was
but
I think it was
it wasn't
2018,
anything.
2018, 19, 2021, and 22 were all bad drafts.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
drafted Cooper Kupp and John Johnson in 2017, and that was a
Yeah.
pretty solid draft. And then it was like Joe Noteboom, and it was Daryl Henderson,
and Jefferson with a second-round pick.
Tutu Atwell with a second-round pick, and yeah, dude, it was rough. Gerald Everett was a third round. There was some rough sailings there for Rams fans.
Listen. That's one of my positive takeaways. When we talk about positive takeaways, one of my positive takeaways is Tutu Atwell.
Okay,
I'm being 100% serious about this. Tutu Atwell, to me, he
I
just
love
looks
how
really good.
you have to preface it by saying I'm
Yes,
actually being serious here.
I'm dead serious though. Tutu Atwell, to me, he's looked really, really
Are
good.
you a little bit serious?
Yes.
You
Well,
can't-
okay. Nice. That was a good. That was a good. Good one. Good one. Good one.
You can't be
But
a
Tutu
lot
looks good,
serious.
man. I think
He has played well in all series. He's played
yeah,
pretty well. He's played pretty well.
he's played well, man.
Eh,
He's getting open. He's getting open deep.
Yeah.
He's making the catches he's supposed to make.
Uh,
I think he has like 300 yards, something like that. My only thing with Tutu is you got to get open in the end zone, man. That was one of the things he got to get open in the end.
Well, that's just not going to
Yeah.
happen, though.
So I don't think he has.
You're asking for too much, to be honest.
Hmm.
I'm not even trying to be mean, but he's got 281 yards. I actually do think he's doing better than expected, and I think I mean, I've kind of always said since he was drafted, if he could be in motion every play, he'd play well. And I do think that it takes away from other players being in motion, and in some ways he does hurt the team, but he's doing his job well. They're making him a gadget receiver full time, and he's making the most of those opportunities. So even as your president and CEO of the Tutu hating fan club, he's making the most of his opportunities. I wouldn't want him to be a primary player on my team with a healthy wide receiver room, because him having to be in motion constantly and not attracting double teams and all that stuff is just not what I'm looking for on a primary 3 receiver basis. But he's perfect in the role he's at, as a guy who comes in when someone's hurt and can catch the ball and can do his job well. He's kind of the perfect number 4 receiver for me, to be honest, because even when everyone's healthy, you could bring him in for 10 snaps a game, let him run in motion, and let him do his thing, because he could do the end arounds. Like, for that, he's a great number 4 receiver option.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him get a handoff or 2 per game. Just
Agreed.
flip it to him once, see what happens. Like, he can get the edge. I don't know. Maybe it's just so predictable when he comes in motion there that they.
No, because he comes in motion every play.
No, but I mean just specifically coming across the motion, like, between the quarterback and the, you know what I mean, like by the quarterback in that direction. But I don't know. I think we should try it.
Yeah, and then you can mix it up with flea flickers and stuff. Like, there's things to be done.
Do something with it. Take advantage of his speed, man.
One more thing, Will, right before you go, I got one more thing that I want to highlight. It's a positive. It's like a half positive, just because I need to preface it with the defense has been bad, so it's sort of like a highlight. But we do have the 18th ranked passing defense, so to me that's sort of like a good thing, just because from on paper, if you look at our defense is ranked probably like 29th or 30th, you would think our passing offense was just awful, but it's been pretty decent, especially getting D Will back. Matello's coming in. Hopefully Trey White gets to hop back in after the bye. So I think it's been okay.
I think it's because our run defense is so bad, though, and teams are just like, well, we're just going to run. I think the Bears game was a good example of that.
So let me pull up some numbers in there we could actually take a look at. It's hard to see, but this is defense right here. We are a bottom 5 defense, but yeah, like you said, the only thing is we're 18th in yards given up. We're 28th in touch. It's the big plays. Look, it's the yards per catch average. We're 32nd, and the touchdowns were 28. What that really tells me is that the story to be had is that we have, like, Trey White was playing well until there was miscommunications and some blown coverages. D Will was playing well minus some miscommunications, and the star of the show in the pass defense is the pass rush, which is one of the best in football.
Yeah.
And who predicted that? Like, Aaron Donald retires, the Rams have the best pass rush in the NFL, or one of the best pass. That's really good. So yeah, that's a really, I really like that as a positive takeaway, because it's that quad, it's that Kobe Turner, Byron Young from last year's draft, and then Jared Verse and Braden Fitz from this year's draft together, that are just like, they're menacing the quarterback. They're not getting home and getting sacks, but they are menacing the quarterback for sure.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, Joe, that you're wrong that the secondary is playing well. I guess, like, to me, I've been really upset with how they're playing, so maybe that's why I'm taking it that way. But, like, From what I've seen, like they're giving up too many big plays and all
Yeah.
that. So like it's like I don't want to like give them the credit, but
There's to be
maybe they're playing. Go ahead.
no, I just agree with both of you. I think both points are valid. There's times when, like I said, D. Will, Trey White, even Akello, and some of the safeties have looked pretty good. There's been stretches where they look good, and then they just fall apart. And it's been like drives where like it's just one wide open pass after the other, no one in sight. Miscommunications, blown coverages, whatever. And so there's been time like you could see that the secondary is better than it's been playing.
Yeah,
But
the last 2 games they actually have played well. Now that I'm thinking
but
about
at the
it,
end of the day,
they played well.
the statistics bear out that the secondary is bad, and because even if you do, it's like bend or break. It's like Raheem's bend or break. Yeah, for stretches you look good, and then you just fall apart. If the end result is you breaking, and then the bending don't break isn't working, and
Yeah.
so there's been stretches of quality play from the secondary, and then it's been awful. So
Yeah. I mean, for my, the things I like so far this season, run blocking has been great.
yes,
Jordan
Great
Whittington,
point.
the emergence of Jordan Whittington has been awesome to see. And then the young pass rush, which I know you touched on, Ethan, but that was like my X factor for the whole season for the season preview, and they have been lights out, man. So those are like the big main ones, and then the Blake Corum is like a weird one for me because it could go for positive takeaway or negative takeaway. He's looked great, but it's also like, why the hell is he not getting more snaps? So I didn't know whether to put him on
I
positive
agree.
or negative takeaways.
We finally
But
got to see a little bit of him, and it looked good.
yeah, but
Yeah.
What can you do with it?
I like what I've seen from him, man.
I agree.
I like what I've seen from him.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our negative takeaways. And I am going to beat a dead horse again, but
Oh, here we go.
no. I could go that direction, but I'm not going to. It's the middle of the defense. It's gotta be. I'm just being realistic, and I said I could go towards my issues with Kyron or some of the issues I have with Stafford or coaching. But at the end of the day, what's the absolute worst negative on this team? It's the middle of the defense between nose tackle, the two inside linebackers, and the safety positions. And I don't blame Curl because I think he's being played out of position a lot. And it's hard to blame Cameron Kitchens because I never thought he should have started year one. He's being thrust into that role. But even having said that, Kitchens has been bad regardless.
He's been bad.
But the whole middle of the field has been horrific. So that's my negative takeaways. The middle of the defense has been awful.
Yeah, the middle defense has been disgusting. Me and Will, we reiterate this all the time. Reader and Roseboom are two of the worst linebackers in football ever. Probably they're just
that I've ever
too
seen.
awful. They're just too awful players, man. I have 4 things that I want to say. It's nasty, so if you need to cover your ears, cover your ears.
Oh, he's going to
But
talk about Kyron.
right now,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh, you know what? I'm not talking about Kyrie specifically, but it has to do with Kyrie.
Okay.
Yo,
So,
by the way, this dude Joe
But-
didn't have Kyron Williams in his positive takeaways of the season so far. What a hater! All right,
It's
keep
a
going.
miracle.
It's not. It's not. If I could go back, I'd probably let him. But you
Nope.
know,
Too late.
Too late.
Um, so
It didn't come to your head. That
things-
says it all. All right, go ahead.
4 things real quick. So we have the 23rd ranked offense in point score. That's just bad in itself. That's Sean McVay offense should never be that bad ever. Sean McVay offense either, to me, I think if having Sean McVay as our coach, the offensive guru that he is, it should be top 15. Just that's minimum. It should be top 15. Um, we have the 29th ranked defensive points given up. So we're not scoring and we're not stopping anybody. So that's the recipe for disaster. That's why we're 1-4 basically.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
back to defense again, just more the macro is we're the 32nd ranked run defense. Like Will said, just because we're decent in pass, that maybe because teams know that they can just run on us.
And they have
That's
been.
why every running back is having a great game. Josh Jacobs, like I said last episode, the episode before, he wasn't great, but he still ran the ball a little bit effective. And then last thing, we have the 27th ranked run offense. So
Yeah.
to Ethan's point, Tyron, I think he has some good games, but all in all, if we're putting everything together the first 5 games, he's not doing enough. He's not nowhere near doing enough. We have the 22nd ranked run offense. That's
I
awful.
didn't know that stat. That's a good stat. I didn't know we're the 27th ranked run offense by what? By
Yeah.
rush yards per game? Is
By
that
yeah,
the
rush hour per game. Yeah, I think we're like
oh
97. Ethan, if
what,
you can fact check me, I think we're like at 97, something like that.
bro,
97
considering the
yards.
run blocking we're getting, that's absolutely unacceptable.
27th
Actually,
in rushing yards,
27. Yep.
and we're
yeah,
25th in yards per attempt. I think we can
Yep.
agree
that,
it's
that's
disgusting,
that's not acceptable.
horrific play, especially when you're considering the run blocking has been pretty elite all season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I
almost
think
like the main guy who's getting all the touches should probably get less touches.
and you know what the funny thing about it? When I was doing my research for this pod, and I like Will said, I really didn't look. I never really looked into it like that. But once I seen those stats, I'm like, man, really, Kyron's not doing enough. We shouldn't be
Yeah.
27th ranked run defense. That's
Yeah.
unacceptable.
You know,
No,
we
I respect your fairness, honestly.
real
'Cause,
quick, we
yeah, it's
we
straight up.
we talked about it, and you're never gonna meet okay, that's not true. There's a couple people I can think of that have prominent roles in Rams Twitter, but Joe's up there as one of the biggest Kyron lovers in existence, and we talked about it, and Joe didn't even disagree with this notion that Blake Corum becomes the main back between the 20s, and Kyron becomes the main back in the red zone,
Yeah.
which I think suits their strengths because Blake Corum's good in space and Kyron is good in small spaces where he's running with power for short gains, trying to get first downs, touchdowns. So if it was more of a 20-20 Blake Corum with Kyron playing your power back role in those situations, so third and short, second and short, etc., and then Kyron kind of handling your bulk duties as the pass catcher and as the guy who's running on first down and etc., trying to get some yards.
Yeah.
But
I love that plan. I like that plan. And I remember at the beginning of the season, we said it like 3 times is that Rams don't do backfield by committee. And that's true, but it doesn't mean they shouldn't. They
Correct.
should. Let's do it. Let's do like a 50-50.
It's literally run successfully all over the NFL.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. The Commanders are doing a great job of it right now. The Lions have done a great job of it. They should do that, man. 100%.
Agree.
I agree. I'm with y'all on that.
So, I mean, some of the things I had have been mentioned, but just the things I don't like, man, the secondary, Chris Shula, the linebackers. This is pretty much when I'm looking at my notes here, I just realized it's like every single part of the defense except for the pass rush, basically. I mean, but I guess to like again, like you said, Joe, look macro. I'm really looking at the defense more than the offense, and I'm not trying to I'm not trying to absolve McVay and Stafford of blame by just saying we're banged up, but I mean it's partially excused and it's partially true, right? Right? Like we are banged up. The defense has no excuse for me, man. Like they're healthy. They got some good guys on paper. They've got some. The pass rush is playing lights out. You would think the secondary would be taking advantage of that. That's supposed to go hand in hand with good coverage, and it's not. The discipline's not there. Missed tackles everywhere. We talked about it last episode. So really, just mostly my disappointment. A lot of it lies just on the defense, and then but with the offense, I think specifically the red zone offense. Obviously that's been a huge issue. Everyone at this point knows that. That's a huge issue for us, man. And Sean, you got 2 weeks to dial it up, man. Come back and change up what we're doing down there in the 20. You already touched on the run game, Joe, so I won't go into it. But those are the main things for me.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in to that point about the defense and Chris Shula and the defensive coaching. It's if one guy is struggling with tackling, he needs to work on his tackling. If two guys are struggling with tackling, they probably need to work on their tackling. If 11 guys are struggling with their tackling, it's probably a coaching problem.
That's a great
and
point.
it's everyone. There's not even the guys you expected. Like Braden Fisk was like elite tackler in college. So was Jared Verse, had some tackling issues in college, something he needed to fix. But even guys that Curl, yeah, same thing, just really wrapping, like finishing off. Like he had a lot of really good pressures he didn't finish off. Curl, excellent tackler, missing tackles. Like and so there's another thing I want to kind of touch on with the whole defensive woes is this is again goes back to coaching. It's hard to be super effective when you know you have to worry about a gigantic Grand Canyon sized chasm in the middle of your defense. I guarantee you that that chasm weighs on Kobe Turner. It weighs on Braden Fisk. It weighs on Cameron Curl. It weighs on Cameron Kitchens. In the run game and the pass game, I guarantee you they're all worried about having to overcome for the lack of nose tackle with Bobby Brown, the lack of inside linebackers with Roseboom and Reader. How many times have we seen this? Like it as Rams fans, how many times have we seen a guy be bad or mediocre, and then the guy next to him changes and suddenly he's great?
Right.
There's a level of trust there. There's a level of like just innate knowing in the back of your mind that if I make a mistake, it's not going to be awful because I have somebody who has my back. I remember, just throwback example, but Joe Barksdale was kind of like the perfect guy for this. You guys remember Joe Barksdale? He was kind of a middling journeyman right guard, and then he played 1 year, or was he a right tackle? He was kind of just like, I think he was kind of just a mediocre guy, kind of bad, but you could see it, and you're like, I was watching the film, I was like, man, but he's good. He seems like he's missing something. And then we moved Saffold to the right side.
Saffold right next to him, yeah.
And then suddenly Joe Barksdale is like a top 5 at his position. And you're going, he went from like bottom 10 starter to like top 5. And the only thing that changed was the guy playing next to him. And he suddenly had all the confidence in the world, knowing the guy next to him was good and strong and could keep what he needed to do. And it changed everything for him. And I've seen that in the secondary, on the D line, the linebacking core, like everywhere. And they have 2 huge holes in the middle, 3 if you count nose tackle. It's tough. So I feel for them, and that needs to get fixed. And it needs to get fixed by coaching, because they should have been benched a long time ago. That's just the bottom line.
And speaking of that, things I don't like, I should have mentioned this. If you're gonna bench Trey White, okay, fine. We can agree to disagree on that, and maybe we can have a conversation about whether he deserved to be benched or not. But the fact that Trey White was benched before Roseboom or Reader, that pisses me off. Yeah. There's no other way to say it, because you can't tell me, we can agree to disagree whether Trey White's been playing well, but you can't tell me he's been playing worse than Roseboom or Reader. You absolutely cannot tell me that.
It's not possible. It's not possible to play worse than them two. No.
Exactly. So the fact that the staff is like thinking like, okay, like we got to make changes, and they're willing to make the changes, and that's what gets done before Roseboom and Reader, it makes no sense to me.
But you know what's crazy is the reasoning given was kind of, McVay didn't say it, but he kind of said it. He kind of was saying, like, we just wanted to shock people by being willing to bench a guy of Trey White's caliber, right? It was kind of that, it was supposed to be that move that kind of like, but I think it had the opposite effect, because when you bench guys who don't deserve to be benched, and you're not benching guys who deserve to be benched, it kind of makes you feel like there's no, like, how you play isn't important. Like, every one of the teams sees Troy Reader and Christian Roseboom play every week, and they see that they're not really capable of starting at the NFL level, and the fact that none of them has even lost any snaps, let alone a start. I'm not. No one's going to convince me that doesn't make a difference in the locker room. That doesn't make a difference to every player in the Rams going, well, you know, these guys are sucking and they don't lose any playing time. So how big of a deal is it? You know? So yeah, that's a real thing. All right. Next topic of conversation is the QB situation. Now, the reason we wanted to do this was because we talked about it before the season about how much longer Stafford had, and whether the Rams should consider moving on from him, or whether he would retire soon. It was kind of a myriad of reasons and things that we were talking about. So I want to start this conversation off with talking about how the reason why I bring this up and why I am an orchestrator of this conversation is because for me, it's pretty simple. If I think that Stafford's only on the team for one reason, to push for a Super Bowl, would we agree with that?
Yeah. Basically, yeah, I mean, that should be the goal. I mean, that's the goal of every team. But
we're a Sean McVay-led team. We're a Sean McVay-led team. We're a less need GM team. We should be trying to get a Super Bowl. We're not the Chicago Bears just begging to make the playoffs or a team like that, right? We're a team that should be contending for a Super Bowl, and that's the purpose for Matthew Stafford's role on our team. So for me, it's as simple as this. Do I think that we're going to be contending for a Super Bowl before Matthew Stafford either starts to decline or retires? And at this point, I'm comfortable saying that the answer is no. I don't think we're going to be a Super Bowl contending team before either of those things happen. And part of the reason why I think that, and I think this is an interesting piece of conversation, is that I'm not sure that Stafford hasn't already started regressing. And so I want to bring this in here. I think this is a very interesting note to look at. And I understand that there's a lot of excuses to be made and there's a lot of reasons and a lot of this, and we can talk about that. But this is Matthew Stafford's stats since the Super Bowl. So all of 2022 till he got hurt, all of 2023 and all of 2024 so far, 29 games. And as you can see right here, he's a sub 90 passer rating guy right now. He has a 89.9 passer rating. Any way you want to chop that up, it's not good. You're talking about Daniel Jones-esque level passer rating. And obviously, he's a much better quarterback than that. That's not what I'm saying. But none of these stats inspire confidence in a guy who can lead a team to a Super Bowl. It's a lot of turnovers. It's 5 lost fumbles, 22 interceptions. It's 27 turnovers in 29 games, almost 1 per game. It's not good. And I'm not going to argue that he doesn't still have the capability of being very good, right? 2023 second half Matthew Stafford was excellent. He was actually very good.
He was great, yeah.
But we're getting these large spurts of mediocre to pretty bad play. And so I do think a decline has occurred, and I think it's hard to notice because he does mix in some pretty incredible throws, and he does mix in some pretty incredible games. It's like he has some games where he just pops off, and you're like, oh man, Matthew Stafford's still a really great quarterback. But he has a lot of stinkers too. I mean, look at the first half of last year, for example. I mean, this is not good at all. So if we just like break it down by like subsection, right? This year we know has been bad. He's got an 86 passer rating. If we look at the first half of last year, I mean, this is not a small sample size. This is 8 games. He had an 82 passer rating. And I know he kind of like came back from the dead and had a really monstrous second half, 104 passer rating. That's a freaking good quarterback.
Yeah, he was great.
But he's been more bad than he has been good since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm alone, but I that concerns me. And I do wonder if it's the right time, especially with a team like the Dolphins, who are badly needing a quarterback on what is really a pretty stacked team they have. I mean, if the Dolphins offer us a 2nd round pick, would we turn it down?
I think we would, and we can disagree about whether we should or not.
Well, I guess that's what I mean more than anything. Should we?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting question. I mean,
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, I think McVay is just in love with Stafford. He's got the ring with him. He's a stubborn guy, as evidenced by the fact that Troy Reader is still on the field. But I mean, yeah, I mean, so there is a lot there, Ethan. And I think you bring up some fair points. What's interesting, I think you mentioned this, is physically he doesn't look like he's declining, and that's just what makes it more puzzling. Is like you still see the throws where it's like, okay, the arm is still there, but he's just not playing as well. And then I think Joe, you mentioned it, like in the Packers game, the most recent game. He just looked like mentally like he was off.
He was also floating balls. I actually think his arm strength has declined quite a bit. But you're right. There is throws where you're like, oh, it hasn't gone away at all. But there's been a lot of throws where it seems declined.
Okay, we can agree to disagree on that point. I don't think his arm strength has declined a lot. But he's not. I think another fair point you said is he's played more games. He's been poor than he's been good since the Super Bowl. I guess where I'm at with it is, as recently as last season, he played great for an entire second half of the year. So I have that as a recent large sample size of him playing well. He's had a lot of moving pieces with injuries and stuff. And just like I said about like just the big picture Copium stuff, and I'm not trying to give like a cop out answer, but it really is, the answer for me is just I'm kind of just in wait and see mode with him, meaning that I'm not completely like, oh, I have no concern. No, I'm slightly concerned. I am, and I'm definitely like, oh, okay, my eyes are on it now, and I'm a little bit alarmed. But you look, last year you mentioned it, he played poorly until the bye week. When he came back from the bye week, he started to play really well. So I'm kind of just waiting to see. Let me see if he can do it this year, and I'm gonna give him a few more games, but it's a concern. I'm not gonna say it's not.
Yeah, I agree. To Ethan's point, we should be concerned. I don't think he's regressed, but it's something I came up with the last couple of days. I think he's regressed, but not to the point to where he can't win anymore. Win a Super Bowl.
Sure.
I think he regressed to the point anymore where he can't be Superman anymore.
Yeah,
Where he can't,
that's a good way to
where
put
some
it.
games where he could win
Yeah.
them by himself, he could have that second half surge, that fourth quarter surge. He's done it a couple times here and there this season against the 49ers. He did it, but the Green Bay game in the fourth quarter, he couldn't do it.
Lions game,
So the
Bears
other games he
game.
did it
Yeah.
where he couldn't do it. Yeah, the Bears game he
Well,
couldn't do it. So I think
the Lions game, we had no run game, right? And he kept us in
yes,
that game. So I
yes,
would
he did.
argue
He
you know,
also threw a red zone
he-
interception, and he also threw the ball directly to a defender at the end of
yeah,
the fourth
he
quarter,
did.
which should have
Yeah,
been a game losing. So we're talking about him.
Yeah,
He was bad
he
in
did.
the fourth quarter of the Lions game, I think, overall, and I think that's problematic. But to the point, we're agreeing about the regression and to necessarily what degree. But that's my point: is the Rams team going to be good enough by the time that Stafford stops being a guy who's capable of winning a Super Bowl? Because
So let
right.
me
See,
we have holes
and to me, that's
everywhere.
the. Oh, go ahead. Go
Right,
ahead.
right. So let me ask you a question about that because that's interesting to me too. Because after the first game of the year, we all agreed. Like I remember you made a joke about it. Like, it'll be a good NFC Championship game when we play them again. What changed between that first game to now that makes you think that? Because to me, like when we're healthy, I don't see why we couldn't be a Super Bowl contender.
Right.
The
That's what
NFC, the
I said.
NFC is not that strong right now, and just looking, we don't have to like go back far to see what this team can do healthy. It was a few months ago. So I think I'm curious, like why? Well, I don't want to. I'm gonna say this, and then I'll let you go. The defense is a lot worse than we probably
Mm-hmm.
thought a few weeks ago,
It's a
so that's a big one. But now you go ahead and tell
I
me.
mean, that's definitely a starting point. We're a bottom five
Yeah,
defense, and when it comes to winning Super Bowls, right? It's because remember that's my bar. It's not about can Matthew Stafford help us be a good team for the next few years, probably, but my bar is winning a Super Bowl, and because I'm a Rams fan, I'm not a Seahawk fan, I'm not a Cardinals fan, I'm a Rams fan. I expect to win a Super Bowl. I'm not even a 49er fan. NFC Championship's not good enough for me.
yep.
Um,
Amen to
so
that, man.
so when it comes to winning a Super Bowl, you have to be able to overcome some stuff going wrong, and you have to be able to play mostly clean football. And Stafford's been averaging a turnover per game since the Super Bowl. So not very clean football.
Yep.
And can he have a game or two or even some small stretches? But you're talking about what he did in 2021 where he was basically perfect in the playoffs was a darn near a miracle. Like, let's just be real. Even for Stafford. Stafford had a very heavy turnover season that year. He went from I think he led the league in interceptions to like having a perfect, playoffs. It was unbelievable. So that's part of the equation. And when you're talking about removing ourselves from Stafford, talking about the team, we're not going to win anything with Troy Reader and Christian Roseman over the middle, with Bobby Brown over the middle, with these insane miscommunications, with the fact that we have our edge rushers probably, don't quote me on this, probably leading the league in dropping back into coverage. I mean, the defense has been abysmal. And so when you talk about Super Bowls, it's not necessarily how many great players you have. Sometimes it just boils down to how many holes do you have, and we still have a lot of holes.
Right.
And I know Alaric's been playing pretty well, and I know we have. I definitely worry about the left side of the line, even fully healthy, pass protecting Stafford. Stafford's not the greatest at feeling pressure from his blind side. And not that any quarterback is great at the blind side protection, feeling, but we've seen Stafford get demolished from a poor left side of the O line. And I'm just seeing, Kyron isn't running well. We haven't seen enough of Blake Corum. There's just a lot of holes on this team, and injuries have to account for that. Is Cooper Kupp going to get hurt again? It's possible. He's been getting hurt a lot lately. Is the O-line going to return healthy? I mean, it's possible one of them gets re-injured and is out for the season. Kevin Dotson's still hobbling on a hurt ankle, for goodness sake. I mean, there's a lot of things, and so when I'm looking at it, we have too many holes I was more optimistic because I thought, and I'll end it with this last piece, is you hope the holes can be covered up and overcome through coaching. And I hate to say this, but I feel like the coaching is making some of these holes worse. Why is
Yeah,
Bobby Brown still
yeah,
getting significant numbers? Why is Troy Reader and Christian Roseman still getting significant numbers?
yeah.
And like you said, Sean gets in these moods where he's just stubborn. He's so stubborn. Like
He really is.
and I know neither of you guys like Daryl Henderson very much, but like we had an example of this where Cam Akers was playing like total garbage, averaging 2.5 yards a carry or worse. And I think it was 2022. And Henderson was doing better in limited snaps. And then we kicked Cam Akers off the team for a few days because he had such a bad attitude and wasn't giving effort in practice. And he still kept the starting role. Like, sometimes Sean just sticks with his guys no matter what happens. That guy got kicked off the team, and the Rams said they were going to cut him. Remember that? And then 2 days later, he was starting, and it was like mind-boggling because he had done nothing. Not only was he not playing good in games, he obviously had a bad attitude in the locker room. He had a bad attitude on the practice field, but he still kept a starting job. And we've seen that though. We've seen that Sean gets fixated on some guys sometimes, and so to me that's problematic. And it's another kind of a hole because Sean seems fixated on some guys that deserve to have their snaps and their touches and their time reduced, and they're not getting that done. So it's all the above, man. It's the holes. It's some coaching problems. Shula does not look like a good defensive coordinator right now. You know, it's just a lot of stuff.
So that's why where I'm at with it is, first of all, I agree with like 98% of everything you just said. So where I'm at with it is, even if we aren't good enough to be a Super Bowl team, it's, to me, it's not because of Matthew Stafford. Like, I don't think he's the limiting factor. I think you just did a good job of outlining
I
it.
agree.
There's so many more issues. So it's like, why would I ship Stafford when we have? I think Stafford is good enough. Now, Joe, I think you made a good point. Maybe he's not the guy who can like carry your team anymore, but I think he's good enough. So it's like, to me, it's like, I don't want to get rid of Stafford. I want a running back that's taking advantage of the holes. I want a defensive coordinator that knows what they're doing. I want
Sure.
a secondary. Like, I'll give you number one on my list right now. Why we won't win a Super Bowl is if McVay gets stubborn and doesn't fire Chris Shula when he's continuing to coach like trash.
We know he's not going to too, though.
They're buddies. That's number one on my list.
No. So I'm not trying to blame Stafford.
No, I know.
I'm just saying it's not in a bubble, right? He's not the number one reason for me either. He's far from it. Like I think Joe put it perfectly. He's still good enough to win a Super Bowl with. He's not the guy to carry you there. And to be frank, the reality is that we do need a little bit of carrying right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
for these two games, we definitely needed it, and we didn't get it.
Yeah, because it's not in a bubble. If Stafford has the value of a second round pick, and we're paying him $60 million a year or near $60 million a year, I'm talking about massive cap savings for next year and the year after, and potentially a pretty high draft pick. So for me, it's kind of a math equation of like, how likely are we to be able to be a Super Bowl contender before Stafford starts degrading or is retiring, compared to the added value we could get from trading and starting a bit of a rebuild sooner.
Yeah. How many games do we have till the trade deadline? Is it 3 or 2?
Let's take a look, but I'm pretty sure.
I think it's 3. I think it's 3 games.
Okay, well, listen, if we lose 2 of those 3 games, screw it. My answer might be different. But
yeah, it's 3 games.
Right now, I'm still.
No. That's fair. That's fair.
And a bit of a wait and see, but it could change soon, honestly.
Yeah, no. That answer is totally fair. And to be honest, I'm in the same boat as you. The only part where I differ is if the Dolphins get really desperate and they blow me away with an offer, I would probably take it. Just because, and part of it for me is like, I really like to see what's coming next and get excited about the homegrown talent and all that kind of jazz. I really enjoy that, but we have a solid base of young players. I would hate to waste their rookie contracts on a couple more years where we're just fighting to get to the playoffs. Let's just kind of go a little bit more into this rebuild and start to like stack the young talent and really push for that next level. So that brings us into our
real quick,
Sure.
real fast. Because I just thought at this point. To the QB situation, I just want to really quickly reiterate Will about that he's still in wait and see mode with Stafford before he feels like he need to move on. What I want to see is because we spoke about the injuries. Because we got minus the Lions game, we have a 4-game sample size of without Puka, without Coop. Well, without Coop, the second half of the Arizona game.
Sure.
I just want to see at least a 4 or 5 game sample of with Coop at least, maybe Puka
Yeah.
and some line back. I just want to see. Can I get a 4-game sample size of that to see what he does when we're somewhat close to being healthy offensively? That's what I want to see.
I feel that.
And that's a fair point. I guess for me, it's just even if he was playing really well, I don't think the team is ready for a Super Bowl. So that's to the other point you made.
But seriously, last point for me. You know what sucks is I remember when we got Matthew Stafford, and there was a lot of people saying like, "Wow, Matthew Stafford has literally never had a good running game, and now he's going to be with Sean McVay." And I think it was, whatever for whatever reason they were optimistic. I think it's because Cam Akers had just had a rookie year where he ran the ball well. He hasn't had a good running game since he's been here, and that's also been really frustrating, man.
Yep.
And that's it. That's all I wanted to say. Give him, man. I just would love to see Matthew Stafford with a good run game, bro.
Last year,
Still
statistically,
haven't seen it.
it was fine, but
Well,
now
Kyron was fine, but the team wasn't. The team was below.
Do you know what we were ranked last year? I don't really know.
Actually,
pull it up.
Joe. Well, Joe, to your point, I guess it was pretty good in the back half of last year, and then look how
It
well
was
we
were
look how well Stafford did.
we were above average running game
Yeah.
Okay.
last year.
He still hasn't had that elite run game though, like Will's saying.
Yeah.
It hasn't been, yeah.
All right. Next topic is trade deadline. We'll hit on this one real quick, and we kind of already spoke on it a little bit. What do you do? I don't think we trade for talent unless we win the next 3 games.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we're going to be trading talent away. So in this situation, we'll just fire through it real quick. What do you do? Let's just say we lose 2 of the next 3 games. Deadline's here. We're 2-6. What do you do if the Dolphins offer you a 2nd-round pick? What do you do if the Dallas Cowboys offer you a 3rd for Kyren Williams? What do you do if the Chiefs offer you a 3rd for Cooper Kupp? I mean, there's some real contending teams who have big voids at major positions. I mean, Tua being gone is a huge hole at quarterback for the Dolphins. The Rashee Rice is hurt for the Chiefs, and the Cowboys thought they didn't need a running back this season for some reason. So, I'm going to be real on my answers. I would probably, because like I said, I'm in the mindset of I think the best thing for the Rams long term is a bit of a mini rebuild again. We've got such a great core foundation. I think expounding on that is not a bad thing, especially with how well we've been drafting. I would probably do all 3 individually. I would do all 3. Now, all 3 at the same time, that's a tough ask. We do have Jordan Whittington in the wings ready to take over for Cooper Kupp. We have Blake Corum ready to take over for Kyren Williams, and they're both on rookie contracts. So you're talking about saving a ton of money. And one of the I know people are going to say, well, 3rd for Kyren's crazy, but as Joe has alluded to in the past, Kyren's reputation around the NFL is superb. He's still viewed as a really good running back. And what you need,
because he is a really good running back.
That's utter nonsense. But here's what you need is you need a delusional owner who thinks that with a really good O-line and a good passing game, Kyren will be all pro level running back again. That sounds like Jerry Jones to me, to be honest with you. The O-line in Dallas is good enough.
It's being a Cowboy.
Yeah. And why do the Cowboys give a 3rd? That seems like a high price. Well, because Kyren is on a rookie contract for the rest of this year and only makes $1.1 million next year at the end of his rookie contract. That's an affordable all-pro running back and a team that thinks they're a running back away from making a Super Bowl run, even though we know that's not true for the Cowboys, but Jerry thinks that, and that's all that matters. So individually, I take all those 3. I might even take all 3 of them if they're all offered and just say, hey, we need a mini reboot because we have replacements for the running back and the receiver. We're going to have to reboot and then draft a quarterback next year. But if we trade those 3 guys away, we're going to be in the top 10 of picks, and there's a myriad of good quarterbacks in next year's draft.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Cooper Kupp thing. You guys know I've always been on the trade Cooper Kupp train.
Hater.
No matter what. I'm not all the way there with Stafford and Kyren yet. I still got something to see. But one thing that I've been thinking about right before this pod is I'm at the point where if we're 2-6 or if we're 4-4 by the trade deadline, I'm almost at the point to where you got the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Cleveland Browns. They're awful teams.
Mm-hmm.
If you can somehow get your hands on Devin Lloyd or Jock, I don't want to say his whole name. I don't want to butcher it, so I'm gonna just say JOK. If you can get your hands on those guys, they're young. Devin Lloyd, I think he has a year left on his contract, and I know JOK. He's on probably one of the best contracts in football.
Yep.
I
Just so
don't
the
think he has
audience
a
knows, he's talking linebackers.
linebackers. I'm sorry, linebackers. Those guys are pieces. I think even if you're bad or good, those are future pieces. And if you could sort of try to catch these teams at the right time to where they're in the low, everything's going bad. The Browns, the Deshaun Watson contract is looming over their head. They might make some rash decisions. The Jacksonville Jaguars won one game. They're 1-5. They might make some rash decisions. So if you could try to get one of those players, whether we're good or bad, I think that's still a good investment just for the future.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
for the reference, she's talking
I
about
like JOK a lot. I like him at coming
I'll give it a shot. Jeremiah Owosu Karamoa, I think is how
or
you.
Moa.
Yeah,
So
I didn't want to butcher his name.
he's a monster. He
Yep.
has 2 sacks, 3 pass deflections, an interception, a forced fumble, and 47 tackles. I mean, he's literally having an all-pro season so far. His passer rating against is 56.6. He is one of the best in coverage this season by quite a bit. He's improved a lot in that area. He's literally, at the very least, Pro Bowl. At his height, he's an all-pro caliber linebacker. I would go for him because let me see if I can get his contract details because that's really important when we're talking about trading for someone. He has been re-signed recently. You're not going to be able to get a good idea of this, but it's for the next 4 seasons. This year's year 1 of a new 4-year deal. It's very affordable and it's very tradable. Trading him is actually not that bad at all. If they traded him in the post trade, they would get basically 2 million of dead cap in 2024, 9 million in 2025. So it's not actually bad at all. I don't think they're going to trade him because he's kind of a young superstar, but I think there's other players on defense they'd probably trade first. But it is a very intriguing prospect. He is a future piece though because he has 3 more years left on his contract. He would absolutely fix our inside linebacker issues entirely. In fact, if we are in a position where we are 4-4 and competing at that point, I would absolutely trade for him. So that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Because sometimes I think of like, even though you're about to go into a rebuild, it's not a bad idea to see if you can get some bargain players out there,
Yeah.
some guys that could be potential really, really good players, and you can catch those teams at the wrong moment. I mean, at the right moment to where they're in the low. I think that's a good way to help, boost the rebuild or fast track it.
So you're talking about getting Jock at a pretty nominal price point. Even you're talking about like rookie contracts. He would be making an average of like 4 or 5 million a season as a Ram because they would absorb a lot of that guaranteed money. Not enough to make him untradeable, but enough to make his salary more appealing to us. So it's just a hair above. It's kind of like getting a rookie inside linebacker in the top 10 picks of the draft. It's kind of where the salary's at. And so it's kind of a steal if we were able to get a guy like that. Whether we're rebuilding or not, he's a future piece with 4 years, and he's insanely young. I think he's only he's 24. So he's super duper young.
Yeah. I guess where I'm at with all the trade talk is it's probably the boring take, but I think the most likely outcome is that we are going to win 2 of our next 3 games and be 3-5. And I think that puts us in a bit of an awkward spot where it's like you're not bad enough to sell everyone, but you're not good enough either that you're like, oh, we're like a
Sure.
piece. We're gonna go get someone. So actually, my prediction is that we'll be quiet for the trade deadline. Again, I know that's boring, but just to I guess touch around on some of what you guys said. To me, the one to sell, and I actually hate saying it, I really do, is it's Cooper Cup. That's like the one that's like the obvious one to me. The price tag, the fact that this guy just can't stay on the field, the fact that even if he comes back and plays well, I'm still going to be worried that literally any snap, he's just going to be right back out again. That's I, I would think I would be okay trading away Cooper Cup. Whittington's emerging. Puka Nacua, we know what he can do. So that's the big one for me. And then, I mean, but yeah, I mean, if someone wants to trade a 3rd or a 4th for Kyron Williams, that's a no-brainer to me with the way that Quorum's running. And even a Kyron fan should take that as a win, right? Because remember, this guy was a 5th-round draft pick. So you're telling me you got a couple years of good production out of a 5th-round pick and then flipped him for a 3rd or 4th? That's objectively a good move. like again, even like a Kyron guy should be kind of happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, we have a guy who could take over that job.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like I said, I would do them. In my scenarios, I'm kind of feel like we're getting blown away with some really good offers by some desperate teams.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
restocking the middle of the draft, that round 2 and 3 area, that would be awesome. I think so.
Yeah, and if we were buyers, obviously linebacker. That's agreed, Joe. I mean, that's the obvious one, and then maybe like a secondary piece. But actually, just real quick, I think our guy Jake Ellenbogen, who does a great job, he made a video about David Njoku. I was like, I like that, bro. I think we haven't had
Dave is really good, man. He's really
like a very talented tight end ever. I've been wanting that for a while, so I like that. I like the idea of that too. So those are just a couple. If we were buyers, those are a couple of things that come to mind. But
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Next topic of conversation is Copium versus Tank, and we've kind of already hit on this pretty hard. You guys are sipping on your last couple drops of Copium.
Yep.
I'm an inch away from full tank mode.
Yeah.
If we lose to the Raiders or just don't look very good against the Raiders, I think I'm 100% on tank mode. And listen, man, there's some good quarterbacks in this draft. There's some good receivers in this draft. There's a lot of things in this draft.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
No one wants to like think through that, but if someone offers us a second for Stafford, I would take the mini tank for the year, and I would take that second round pick, and I would use it to do whatever we need to do to get the quarterback that Sean McVay falls in love with. I also really desperately want to see Sean McVay develop a quarterback. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man. That would be really fun.
That would be a new experience for us as Rams fans. A guy that he handpicks and develops. I know he developed Goff to an extent, but a guy that he handpicks, it's his guy, and he takes him to be a superstar. That would be awesome.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's the one
I
thing.
think that
That's
would
the
be
one
really
thing
cool.
he hasn't got a chance to do yet. That's like one mission that he hasn't unlocked yet. That's the,
Even like
building up.
even like 12 hours ago, as of 12 hours ago, I should say, I feel different about it. Again, I mentioned this at the beginning, just watching Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and Caleb Williams playing well, that actually did get me kind of more in that space of what you said. Like, man, if McVay had his dude handpicked with all the traits he wanted, that really would be fun to watch. You're right.
You know who he would like. I'm gonna just toss it out there is Shador Sanders. I think I think we have enough evidence. I know people were like, "Oh, he loved John Wolford, so he wants a running quarterback." That's nonsense.
That's different. I mean,
He wants a guy who's mobile but is a pocket quarterback, and Shador is exactly that. Shador is a guy who can escape pressure, who can create more time to make plays, but he's accurate. He's a pocket guy. His eyes are always downfield. He's his first, second, third, fourth option are pass. He doesn't ever run until it's the last possible option. He is good at avoiding sacks. He's got pinpoint accuracy. He actually has kind of a cannon, to be honest. Like, he seems to me to be the kind of quarterback that Sean McVay seems to really like.
Yeah. I want Arch Manning really badly in 2 years. That's what I want.
I'm not even going to argue with that. If we're talking about the 2026 draft, it's Arch Manning. 2025, I'm on the Shador Sanders train.
Yeah.
So
Oh, go ahead, Will.
Well, I just, as far as the copium talk, I guess I know we've mentioned it, I guess, throughout the pod or at least once or twice, but this was the point of the year where we turned it around last year. So I just want to go on record, make a hot take that may age very poorly. I don't care. I'm just gonna go for it. I believe we're gonna go 4-1 in our next 5. And last year we went 7. I think we went 7-1 after the bye in our last year, and that one loss was to the Ravens in overtime. We can do it. We've done it before.
Joe, come on, bro. This guy's got a copium drip. He's smoking copium. He's getting a copium enema. He's eating. He's got copium edibles. He's got a freaking gas mask in, giving him the copium. Bro, he's full blown.
Let me cook my copium. All right, it's a new recipe I've been working on.
Listen, that's what I'm gonna say. I want the viewers to hold me accountable. I want you guys to hold me accountable. If we lose to the Raiders, just take it back a little bit. If we lose to the Raiders, I think we should tank. So hold me accountable to that right there. If we lose to the Raiders, I think we should tank. I'm all until proven otherwise. If they make some type of miracle undefeated streak or something crazy like that, then okay. But if we lose to the Raiders, I wanna tank. Now to the Copium, we will. I think we go 4-1 too.
Oh my gosh.
Let's
But
go. Let's go, baby.
listen,
Hey, hold up.
Hey, hold on,
listen,
let's remember
listen,
these are the two guys who haven't been right all season yet.
You see this
listen.
little copium I
That
got?
last little drop.
Oh,
That's
I
all we got, Will. That last little drop.
No,
Listen,
no,
I'm
no,
telling
no,
you guys right now.
It's not your last drop. It's the strongest it's ever been because we are in the worst position we've ever been.
Listen, I'm telling you this right now.
That's
I got a hot
pure
take. I got
copium.
a hot take myself. Got a hot take myself.
let's. Yeah, I'm
I
listening.
think on Thursday night football, I think we beat the Vikings.
Dude, I was gonna say that. Dang it.
I think we beat
I
the
like it.
Vikings on Thursday night football.
I like it.
Whether I don't know how the game's gonna go, I don't know. Hopefully Puka's back, maybe,
We need
and
Pup back.
maybe
Well,
Jonah or something. But
Pup is supposed to come
I think
back
we
before
still
Puka, right? Yeah, we
Pup
need one
should
of
be
them.
back against the Raiders.
We need one
He
of
should
them
have
back.
updated today. Yeah.
Bro, if I'm with you, I was literally gonna say the exact same thing, Joe. If we get one of those receivers back, I think I'm gonna predict a Rams upset. The Vikings are good. They're not like a fluky undefeated team, but I just feel like they're bound to have one. Every team, even great teams, have an off day, and it's short week at home. But anyway, yeah, dude. Listen, I'm gonna just so the audience is with us here. The next 5 is the Raiders, the Vikings again on a short week, Thursday night football at home. Seahawks, who are not playing well. And we've had the Seahawks number for years. Even the years where we were bad, we'd play the Seahawks well. The Dolphins with no Tua. Now they may trade for a quarterback. We'll see.
Tua, they said
As of
Tua's
right
going to
now-
be back this year. Actually, they just said that.
Okay, you think I don't know if okay, well we'll see if he's back for the Rams game. And then the Patriots, who are awful. And actually we play the Eagles after that, and they're not playing very well either. But anyway, I said next 5. So listen,
The Saints
4-1 is
suck,
on the
too.
table, man. Come on now. And we're getting healthier. We got the bye week. Like,
Hey, baby. Come on, baby.
hey,
We've done it before.
It could age really poorly, but I'm
with Ethan. It's sort of awful being on that roller coaster every season where you're going up and down. But man, look, that's what football's about sometimes, baby. You gotta get excited. You gotta ups and downs is how it goes sometimes.
All right,
Yeah.
so that rolls us into our next point, actually. How do we avoid the ups and downs and become a perennially good team? So the
That's
question is, how do we go from being a good team, like the Rams have been since Sean McVay got here, to being a dynasty?
Defense.
Yeah,
I think that's a decent. That's a good place to start.
it's a good place to start. I think on a more practical level, it's that we need to stop ignoring positions just because we don't find them important. Just because we don't happen to find inside linebacker important doesn't mean that it's acceptable to trot out, Troy Reader and Christian Roseboom. Just because we don't happen to find nose tackle very important doesn't mean we can trot out Bobby Brown and expect not to have any consequences. Just because we don't particularly like to have a dual back system, a running back by committee, doesn't mean that we have a running back who's worthy to get all the snaps on this team. Yeah. We have to break out of some of those. So that's definitely something. And to be honest, I think our best chance to become a dynasty is to trade guys like Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Kyron Williams for more picks. The way we've been drafting lately, you're telling me you wouldn't like a supercharged third great draft in a row and what we could do with those pieces? Imagine if we were able to come home next season with a first round quarterback, a left tackle, maybe a corner, some kind of infusion of more young talent, and shedding a lot. Not only just trading Stafford, Cooper Kupp, and Kyron Williams together or separately give us a pick, but it also creates a lot of cap space. Even though Cooper Kupp and Stafford's contracts aren't particularly friendly to trade, they would actually create some cap space for next year's and long term that we could utilize to fill in some of those holes and then have a much better, much more lucrative draft with a lot more draft picks. I think we're on the way there, to be honest. We have been so focused on being contenders that we've ignored building through the draft and building young, affordable pieces that are game changers and game wreckers. I mean, I don't know, you guys tell me, but I see what the D line has become in 2 years of rookie draft investment, drafting the right guys with rookie contracts. And I think it's pretty sick. We have We have a top tier O line and an elite D line in the NFL for minimal money investment. And I find that to be really exciting. And you're saying defense, and I'm saying trenches.
Yeah.
I'm saying I want an elite left tackle. I want an elite right tackle. I want an elite right guard, left guard, center. I don't care what it takes. An elite O line in a Sean McVay system is unbeatable. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And then an elite D line changes everything. How many times?
Which I think we're gonna have.
Yeah, we're a nose tackle away from having it on a rookie contract. Imagine if there's someone like Tavondre Sweat out there next season, and we could plug that big dude in the middle and just eat bodies and be effective. That D line is going to be unbelievable, and then we can just shore up left tackle. And I would personally like to see what we can do to move on from Jonah Jackson and get an affordable left guard. But like, we could if we had elite both in the trenches, we get an infusion of young talent. That's how you start to build a dynasty.
Yeah.
Because
I think
we're almost there. We're close, man. We got receiver, we got the D line, most of it. We got most of the O line. We got I think we got the running backs. You guys don't agree with Kyron, but I think we got the running backs. It's just
we got
I like
corn.
D
Yeah, we
Will.
got him.
He's kind of on the older side,
I think the
but
left
I
side of
think
the O
we
line
got
is in question,
corners. Well, see, I like Alaric. So me, okay.
but
Alaric's
not long
honestly
term.
It's an interesting
I
debate with
haven't I
Alaric.
haven't really said anything about this, in the Discord, anything about that. But Alaric, if he gets his full season out, and he stays on the trajectory he's on, I'm at the point where I think you could resign him for cheap. You can get him on a 3-year
No,
cheaper deal, and I
Yeah,
would
but
probably do it. If he stays on
that's
that trajectory,
that's the problem is so
good
first
for
of
me.
all, no, so first of all, I want to say that I agree with you that Alaric is playing well, and I'm starting to like him more and more. But I think he's going to play himself into an awkward position where if he's playing well and he's a left tackle, which is such a premier position, I don't think we can. I think we'd have to pay him a lot at that point. So I think that's why it's starting to. It could become like an awkward situation there where you either have to give him a big deal or let him walk. I don't think there's going to be a cheap deal for a left tackle that's playing even pretty well, just
Yeah,
the way
that's
the league goes.
I wouldn't want to pay.
That'll be a tough decision, honestly.
I do agree with Will on that, but I also think Alaric's playing well above his head right now. I wouldn't bet money that he's going to be playing as good as he has the last few games long term, and so for that reason, I'm out. But again, it's just we're not far. We have the right side of the O line, the center position is strong. The D line is one position away from being strong, and then you start building out from there. But also, it needs to be affordable going forward.
Left guard with Steve there. Only thing, well, really, if we just, only thing we're really missing, if you just exclude
Well,
Alaric, is
I'm
left
talking
tackle.
about Jonah, but yeah,
Okay. I'm in the okay. See me, I would like get rid of Jonah and
yeah.
keep Bo at center, and then put in
Oh,
Steve at
oh,
left guard.
that's actually a really
Uh,
excellent point. I would do the same
yeah,
thing. Steve at left guard, Bo at center, and then all we need is a left tackle.
yeah,
But if we're gonna have two guys on rookie contracts and the O line is utmost importance, even if you thought Alaric Jackson, even if you're like a big Alaric Jackson fan like Joe, I think we all agree he's got a ceiling cap. Like he's not ever going to be an elite left tackle. I would just swing for the fences, man. The better you can get that O line, the better Sean McVay's offense is going to run. It's that simple. So I just wouldn't settle. I feel like Alaric is settling because he's never going to be an elite top 10 left tackle.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like my full conclusion on him isn't out yet. I don't know. I'll wait. I would I guess see how he plays out the rest of the season, but I guess I wanted to just give like my general answer to this, which is Joe. I actually think what you said at the beginning. I want to circle back to that. The defense. To me, guys, when I look at the Chiefs, why are the Chiefs so good consistently? Like obviously Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, yeah, but I think what's really been the game changer for them is Steve Spagnuolo and the defense has given that team like a floor where their defense is playing so well now that like even when their offense isn't like lights out, they have a floor where it's like they're always going to be like pretty good. I think that's
And
what we're missing.
their defense
Like
has an identity and they have
yeah,
continuity and they have
yeah,
and you know what it takes is for Sean to go out and do the right thing, which is to sign a DC who does not have aspirations to be a head coach anymore and will stay long term for 5-10 years and be the guy. Steve Spagnuolo is content being the Chiefs D coordinator and the continuity. They lost LaJarius Sneed and you wouldn't even know it.
right. It's the combo of Andy Reid, who's a great head coach, and Steve Spagnuolo, who maybe I won't call a great DC, but he's a damn good DC.
I think he's a top
you
3
need-
DC in the NFL.
I think that's. I would have to like sit down and write it out, but I think that's probably a good take. But yeah, can you give me a DC that's like even 70% as good as Sean McVay? Like pair him with someone that's actually knows. Like, and you look at the Niners, like they had Robert Saleh, they had what is it, the D'Amico Ryans, like they all those they've been consistently good. It's because their defense has been playing very well too, and given that team again a floor. Like right now, they're not maybe as good as they've been in years past because, in my opinion, the defense isn't as good. So yeah, for me, it's getting a good defensive coordinator where our defense is consistently good, and there's not all this pressure on the offense to like constantly have to score, 28 a game. Um, and then like another way to take it is this is like the really simple answer is just health. Because I think you could argue that if we were just healthy in 2022, we would have been a good team. If we were healthy in 2023 all year, I mean, we were a good team. Actually, we were a good team in 23. And then this year, you could argue if we were healthy, we'd be good. So I I think like both are true. Like there's things we can do, obviously,
I just don't want to.
and health has been an issue.
I don't think health talk is equivalent when you're having a dynasty talk. The Patriots had tons of injuries. The Chiefs
That's
have tons
fair.
of injuries, and they have the
They figure it
talent,
out.
the depth, the coaching to overcome it. Yeah.
That's fair. No, that's fair. And the Niners have done that too. So I hear you. And then I guess just one last one is we said this too is like, yeah, the past two drafts we've been great, but the ones before that we haven't been. So that's a huge key too, is you have to keep drafting. If we keep drafting like the way we've been doing the last couple years, then that is going to be a dynasty.
But here's the problem, and this is where I'm talking about the reset situation is if you do draft really good next year and you still have Stafford and you don't win next year, I mean, how many more years does Stafford have as a Super Bowl winning quarterback? That's why it's almost to me just worthwhile to consider jumping off Stafford earlier than you might want to start up the next guy sooner. Does that make sense?
It does. I don't know if having even a good rookie QB with this defense, I think it kind of puts us in the same predicament for me.
Well, no, but we would fix that. I mean, we would be creating cap space. We would be getting more draft
Oh,
picks.
okay.
We would be getting a lot more opportunities to do something.
I see
And
what you're saying. In other words, the money you're saying, like, since the defense is so far away, you need the money from letting go of
I
Stafford
mean,
to.
let's just say we were able to. Let's just hypothetical, real quick. Let's say we were able to get Shador Sanders in the first round. Okay, so we got the quarterback for the future. Let's say he's actually pretty decent. I don't know. He doesn't have to be Hall of Fame level, whatever. He's just a good quarterback. We get a second for Stafford. We save $20-30 million in next year's cap. So we can get a defensive player with that second round pick. We can sign a couple of players with that money that we would have given Stafford next year. There's some options there to consider as far as just getting to that dynasty wise, getting to that next quarterback that Sean McVay can mold sooner rather than later, as opposed to
You know
having.
what?
Go ahead.
That's a really good point. I wanted to bring this up earlier, but this is the perfect time. The Bears literally did that exact thing. So what they did was, when they were bad, they were awful. They still went out and got a future piece. That was Montez Sweat. And they got him for the
Yep.
D line. And I remember in the chat, we were all like, man, why would they do that? They're so bad, it's not gonna help them. But sometimes it's a future investment. So
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
they did was they were really bad. They got rid of Justin Fields, got Montez Sweat, went and drafted Caleb Williams, and then, like Ethan said, they used all the money they had, and they went and got Keenan Allen. They drafted Roma Dunze, and they got
Yeah.
I think they got a little bit more pieces on the they got Swift. They went and got
Hmm.
DeAndre Swift,
They got some
who's
more pieces on
actually
the O
been getting
line.
better these last couple. They focused on the O
Yeah.
line. So that's why if we lose to the Raiders, I'm all for that because the tank doesn't have to be 3-4 years. It can literally be you're bad this year, you make smart moves in off season, and you literally could be in playoff contention next year.
Playoff contention next year, and then Super Bowl contention for the next 5-10 years. I mean, seriously, because if you have a quarterback that's a top 5, top 10 quarterback, young, you're in the hunt every year, especially if you have a young quality D line and a young quality O line.
Yeah.
And look, we make 5th, 6th round receivers into stars. We draft running backs late who are serviceable enough to be all pros, for goodness sake. Like, we can do it. That's why I'm kind of pushing that direction. Is just like, I feel like it's inevitable. I guess I feel like it's inevitable that we're going to be doing a small rebuild. I'd rather start it sooner than later while we still have these really good young players on their rookie contracts.
Yeah, and I guess just to like voice the other side for me is like Stafford is a known commodity, right? We know he's a good quarterback, and we've seen him win a Super Bowl. And so to me, I guess the other side of it is it's a big. You could argue it's a big gamble because yeah, like the hit rate on rookie quarterbacks is not very high. So it's
Sure.
like trading away a quarterback who, we're all not in the same place with him, but we could argue he's not fully elite or whatever. You
We
can't
all
trade
agree he can
him.
win a Super Bowl.
But exactly. We all agree that he can win a Super Bowl, and you're trading him away for a quarterback that may or may not hit. And again, the hit rate is not high on rookie QBs. So it's a big gamble to me, but like financially, logically, everything you guys said is true, where that is a pathway to have a dynasty. As far as the cap, and that's the cliche ideal, right? In the league is having a good rookie QB on a rookie contract. So I hear you guys.
I mean, just imagine we hit the quarterback next season. We use that money wisely to fill up inside linebacker and nose tackle. We draft some nice pieces on the O line and the D line.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
that
that'd be
is
nice.
that
Not
is
gonna lie.
literally what makes dynasty. Because what we're doing is we're shoring up the trenches and then putting a good rookie quarterback in there with weapons, and then we're building around that. Like that's how you go. That's how you build that's how you build a dynasty.
That's
You
the ideal
strong.
formula.
Think about it. The Chiefs, and the crazy thing about the Chiefs is their trenches have had a lot of moving parts, but they've stayed dominant though, or mostly
And
dominant the whole
they
time.
hit on some late round picks and like rookies that have played great too on the O line. Yeah, and then they have DBs who weren't household names, weren't high draft picks that are playing like they just they've done a really good job developing their players.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's an interesting discussion, and you know what? I think that we'll have this discussion again later in the season. Because I think it's an evolving situation based on how the Rams go.
If we lose to the Raiders, we might just have to have the full
Next
discussion
week.
again, and then it not being hypothetical, but it just being like, okay, like let's actually do this and do that right now.
On a philosophical level, though, it's interesting that we have so many options ahead of us right now. We're in an interesting point where it's just like there's like a they do like Marvel timeline. It could splinter into 100 different directions. It's an interesting place to be. All right, and I know we've been running a little long. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Let's just go ahead and wrap up with the Rams Raiders preview. So this one is going to be interesting. We're playing a pretty bad team, but here's the kicker with the Raiders that I think it's important to realize is they have some pretty good players.
Yeah,
Some guys who could literally change the game, right? Like Brock Bowers, like Devontae Adams if he's healthy, like Max Crosby. They have their defense is actually pretty good. It's been performing pretty well. And I want to say they have a couple good linebackers too. They got Jack Jones at corner who's solid. I mean, like they have some legit options. So let's take a look at the Rams offense versus the Raiders defense. So the Rams offensively, it's looking from the sounds of it, it sounds like it's very possible that Cooper Kupp will be back. So it's basically what we saw last week or 2 weeks ago, plus Cooper Kupp. So I think in this scenario, you actually get Jordan Whittington, Cooper Kupp, and Tutu Atwell as your three primary starters. I think this depth chart's not accurate. I think Whittington would start over D-Rob. He's been getting a lot more touches. I think he's been getting more snaps as well. So I think that's how it would play out. I also think we see Blake Corum start to get more touches.
I hope so.
The excuses for that are kind of running thin, so I'm looking forward to that. And then we take a look at the Raiders defense, and Crosby's in there. They did lose Christian Wilkins for the season, but they got Crosby. Tyree Wilson is having a pretty nice second season. He's starting to really show himself to be that top 10 edge that they drafted. He's not like dominating yet, but he's really showing some stuff. Divine Diablo came back from injury, and I want to say he had like a monster game. I want to pull it up real quick because I think he like dominated, even though they got whooped.
Yeah, he played really well against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he had a sack. He had 2 tackles for loss. He was actually flying all over the field, and I want to say that I know I'm getting off on a rabbit trail, but I want to say they have the leading tackler in the NFL who's having a pretty good speed. Yeah, Robert Spillane is 62 tackles.
Yeah.
He's having a pretty good year too.
Used to be on the
So their linebacker combo could give us some problems in the running game in the middle of the field. The D line is good, and they have some pieces. Like Jack Jones is not a bad player. I know Mooring has been pretty good this
Yep.
season so far.
Nate
Jacorian
Hobbs is
Bennett,
good. Yeah.
yeah, they've got a decent defense. Not Max
Yeah.
is the only like bona fide superstar, I think, but they have solid pieces all over. That's probably going to be the main thing to look out for. Now we flip it on its head, and we go ahead and start talking about the Rams defense versus the Raiders offense. Now here's where this actually gets interesting and plays out in our favor. Is that here's the so Devontae could miss this game, Jacoby could miss this game. Both of them are really good receivers. And it's interesting. I didn't think Aiden O'Connell was bad. When you hold on, you got to take it into consideration. Like I want to just check this out because
I didn't think he was bad last year, actually.
I didn't think he was bad last year, but I'll tell you why I didn't think he was that bad because he was missing both those guys, Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. Those are his top two receiving options. Bowers had a good game, and his run game is awful. Like he carried a heavy load, and it wasn't that bad considering how much he was missing, and for him being basically in his second year, not having started very many games. So if they get either of these guys back, that could be a big deal for them. Their O-line is pretty decent. Their running game is an embarrassment to football. It's awful.
They might be the worst running team in the league.
Which is saying something because they're competing with Kyron Williams. So let's take a look at our defense. We've got pretty much everyone healthy that we had last week. Hopefully Trey White is not a healthy scratch again. I would love to see D. Will and Trey White in there. Kobe in the slot and seeing what we can do putting Cam Curl in a better situation. Obviously defense has been bad, so we'll have to see them play better. But so that's the comparison of the offenses versus the defense and the depth chart. Let's talk about key matchups, gentlemen. My key matchup is going to be real nice, smooth, and simple. You know what? I'm going to go a different direction. I was going to go with the obvious Crosby versus tackles situation, but I'm actually going to go a different direction. I'm going to go their great linebacking duo versus Kyron Williams.
Okay.
Because they're gonna be the main guys to try to stop him in the run game, and they're also gonna be the main guys covering him in the pass game. So I'm interested to see what those because that's a really solid duo of linebackers with Spillane and Diablo, and I'm interested to see how Kyron does against a team with some better linebackers like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or sorry, Blake.
Okay.
I hope it's
My key matchup is our D line versus their O line. Like Ethan said, it's decent. I don't think it's I wouldn't say it's good, but it's okay. It wasn't that bad. I watched a couple games, prepare, and they did all right. They held up all right. But after the bye week, I think this is a statement game in general for us if we want to even have any hope for this season. So I think this is the game that Jared Verse and Brady Fisk actually get those sacks and actually stack up those numbers. That's what I want to see. So that's my key matchup.
I feel that. Okay. I'm gonna say. I mean, you mentioned the obvious one already. Max Crosby on Rob Havenstein. Does Crosby move around a lot? I see him mostly rushing from the offense's right side, and I don't know if. Okay, so I see him rushing from there a lot. So I'll say haven't seen, but wherever he's lined up.
So I was muted.
Yeah.
I said he moves around quite a bit. So I said
Okay.
for people at home.
Yeah. But I know Joe, you're kind of fond of saying like when someone has something that player that's in a rut or a part of your team that's in a rut, and we can't be the team that lets them get going on us or have a get right game for us. We just talked about how their rushing offense has been trash. Our rushing defense has been trash. So for me, I guess another one is like, don't be the team that lets this team actually run the ball well. So
I just wanted to bring this up for you. Not only do they have bad running backs, but they actually have the ratedly worst run blocking offensive line in football.
Bro, there is no way that the Raiders run the ball all over us. If they do,
but remember Swift, DeAndre Swift had like 1.9 yards per carry.
If they have a good running game, Troy Reader and Christian Rosen need to be cut. Matthew Stafford needs to get traded.
I'm hoping that they get benched after the bye. I'm hoping that's it.
We'll see. I'm not hopeful, but we'll see.
I probably should have put that as keys to victory, but whatever.
Okay, well, let's move on to keys to victory then. My key to victory is going to be red zone efficiency on both sides of the ball. Can we? This is what I'm going to be looking for on offense. Stafford to just be a not be a bottom 3 quarterback in the red zone. I'm not even asking to be good. Just don't be the worst in the league in the red zone. Do something. Score some touchdowns through the air. Cooper Kupp back potentially. Jordan Whittington is a reliable target. I don't know why he's not getting any red zone targets at all. It's pretty frustrating. Colby Parkinson, just don't throw 12 feet over his head. He's tall. He's got long arms. He can make some catches. And on the defensive end, because this is the thing about the defensive red zone, right? We have almost made many plays on defense in the red zone. We've almost had interceptions. We'd almost had sacks. I mean, I think we almost sacked Kyler Murray in the red zone a couple times, and little dude scrambled away and made something happen. But like, make plays on both ends of the field in the red zone. That's my key to victory.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. For me, it's just super simple. It's kind of boring and bland, but just win the game, man. I've been having keys to victory every week, and sometimes the running thing never works how I wanted to. The passing, we always do something dumb. So Sean, Les, Stafford, everybody there, just win the game.
The running game can go like you want it to. We just need to make a change at running back. Go ahead, Will.
Probably.
My key to the game is don't let Brock Bowers ruin you, because this guy is capable of having an 150-yard, 2-touchdown game. And I say that, one, because he's an amazing player, and I don't say that lightly. Like, I think he's literally an amazing player.
He is.
I think he's the term generational, in my opinion, gets thrown around too much. He's a generational tight end. He's amazing. But two, it can happen because our defense, the middle of our defense, is suspect as hell. Our safeties are suspect as hell right now in coverage. Our linebackers are suspect as hell in coverage. So that combination makes me nervous. Devontae Adams, I don't even know if he's going to play. So to me, it's like, this is the one guy that can kill you. So that's my key.
So here we are, Joe and I giving out. Well, I'm the only one who gave out a real key to victory. Joe over there just saying, please win the game. And Will is asking for miracles from heaven to have Troy Reader and Christian Roseman play well in this game and cover Brock Bowers.
I said, don't let him kill you. Don't let him ruin you. I already know it's too much to ask that, like, we're going to, like, shut this guy down with Roseman and Reader, but, like, he just can't go, like, absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
Maybe that's still too much to ask.
It might be. Okay, and predictions.
Real quick, I do mine. Like we said, I think this is a statement game. So I'm gonna give my last Copium pick of the year. Hopefully it's not the last one, but if it is the last one, this is my last one. I'm gonna say we blow them out 13-30.
Okay.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right. So we're favored by 5.5 points. Which is I was telling these two offline. That's a pretty wide margin for a team that's just not playing well. Like, we're a 1-4 team, so to be favored by 5.5, 6 points is a wide margin. I think we cover. I'm gonna say 26-19 Rams win.
Okay. Dang, that's a good one, actually. I'm actually gonna say 27-21 Rams win.
Okay.
And if that's the answer, I'm not gonna be happy. If we win by a touchdown, that's not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 26, I just realized is a field goal heavy score, which actually, yeah.
Then hey, it's actually probably a good prediction. Let's be honest.
The red zone offense, yeah.
We really need to beat them kind of convincingly, to be honest.
No, because you guys talked about, right, was like, I know it's a long video. I appreciate you guys hanging in there, but I want to make one final point to something that you both alluded to. You're talking about, because we're talking about this being a necessity for like a game-changing, season-changing victory, right? That's what we need right now. And you guys have both alluded to those in the past, right? So last year, I'm going to pull it up real quick. We can kind of get a quick peek at it. Last year, we came out of the bye. We beat the Seahawks, but then we trounced the Cardinals 37-14. So we had so that was kind of our get back game. Then we whooped the Browns and we almost beat the Ravens, which we shouldn't have done. And then we went on a roll, right? Like that Arizona Cardinals game was the bounce back game. And then you mentioned it in 2021, right? Where we had another one of those games where we were having a rough stretch and then we beat the Jaguars by 30. And then so you're talking about, we didn't just beat teams, like we trounced teams,
Right.
badly beat them. I think when you're talking about a game that's going to change the momentum of the season, it needs to be a pretty severe beating. And if there's a team we're going to give a severe beating to, it's the Oakland or the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah. This is the best chance we have, and it needs to be sooner rather than later, because either this one or the Vikings. So
it's not going to be the Vikings.
I would like to be able to have one of those, like we pointed to those two games being the moment where the season turned around. We need one of those moments now for any hope at all. We need to have, Joe needs to be correct. We need to win by 20 points.
Yeah.
So that'll be what we're hoping for.
Yeah, I'm excited to see, man. Like, I think it just depends on game flow too. Like if it's like a 26-19 where we score at the last second, sure. Like I'm not gonna walk away feeling great with that. But if it's like the garbage time touchdown, backdoor cover, like it just depends. But I agree with what you're saying. Like I get what you're saying. Like it has to be a convincing win where both the offense and the defense play very well.
And you have to control the game, right? So like we'll know it when we see it. But score is also like winning by 2 touchdowns is kind of a thing that happens in these games. Is you have a convincing win, you win by 2+ touchdowns, and it kind of like you kind of shed the internal doubt of, are we a good team or are we actually a bad team? Like, we need one of those games. So, all right, guys, that is going to be it for this one. It was a long one. We appreciate you guys sticking with us. It was a really entertaining bye-week video to make. Had a lot of interesting discussions about the Rams' future and what's been going on so far this season. So we appreciate you guys sticking with us. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment below your thoughts on any of the topics that we discussed today. Any ideas for future videos or future topics, let us know in the comments. We appreciate it. But we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.